The void surrounding Watch Station Ethelgard did not scream. It did not roar with the laughter of thirsting gods, nor did it chitter with the hunger of the great devourer. It was simply terrifyingly silent. Station Commander Harlan Vance hated the silence. In the 41st millennium, silence was not a sign of peace. It was a sign that the sensors were dead, or worse, that something was dampening them. He gripped the brass railing of the command pulpit, his knuckles white against the cold metal. "Report!" Vance barked, his voice echoing too loudly in the cramped bridge. "Augurs are confusing, my lord." The tech priest engine seer clicked, his mechadendrites twitching in agitation. No warp signature, no ionic drive plume, no biological masses, just a displacement. "A stealth vessel?" Vance asked, eyeing the tactical hololith. "Negative. Stealth implies an attempt to hide a signal. This object emits nothing. It is a hole in our data, a void within the void." On the main view screen, the anomaly became visible. It was not a Gothic cathedral ship festooned with gargoyles. It was not a jagged scrap metal orc rock. It was a perfect reflective droplet, smooth as mercury, reflecting the distant starlight so completely that it was almost invisible. It drifted without engines, obeying laws of inertia that the Imperium had forgotten 10,000 years ago. "Hail it," Vance ordered. "Standard Imperial greeting. Demand identification." The Vox officer complied, broadcasting the Emperor's benediction and a threat of immediate destruction on all frequencies. The droplet did not respond. It did not slow down. It simply continued its trajectory toward the system's sun. "My lord," the astropath in the corner whimpered, clutching his head. "The warp, it isn't reacting to it. The object has no soul, not like a Necron, which is an absence. It's like looking at a math equation that equals 0. Suddenly the droplet shifted. It didn't turn. It simply altered its vector instantly, ignoring G-force constraints. It was heading for Ethelgard. "Shields up! Fire macro cannons!" Vance screamed. The station shuddered as the batteries fired. SUV-sized shells streaked toward the tiny silver object. The droplet did not evade. It simply flew through the shells. It impacted the station's void shields, not with a crash, but with a slip. It passed through the energy barriers as if they were mist. Impact in 5 seconds. The droplet struck the station's hull. It didn't explode. It punched a hole 1 meter wide, exited the other side, and then stopped dead in the center of the bridge. Silence fell again. The crew stared at the floating silver sphere no larger than a servo skull. Then, the sphere projected a voice. It was not audio. It vibrated the very bones of everyone in the room. "This coordinates is too loud. You are broadcasting. You are summoning the hunters. Why do you scream?" Vance drew his bolt pistol. "I am Commander Vance of the Imperium of Man. Identify yourself, Xenos." The sphere rippled. "Man? Imperium? Irrelevant. Your transmission levels are suicidal. I am Singer. I am cleaning the forest. You are making too much noise." Before Vance could pull the trigger, the air in the bridge tore open. But it was not the droplet attacking. Klaxons wailed. "Warp breach!" the tech priest shrieked. "Multiple signatures. It's the great enemy." Vance looked at the sensors. A jagged rift had opened 1,000 kilometers off the starboard bow. From the bleeding wound in reality, ships of brass and bone emerged. The World Eaters. "Blood for the blood god," the Vox channel screamed, instantly drowning out the silence. The silver droplet pulsed. "Confirmed. The screamers have arrived. The forest is compromised." 3 days later, the Ethelgard system was a graveyard. The World Eaters had slaughtered the station crew, but they had not claimed the system. They were currently engaged in a confused, furious void war with something they could not catch. On the surface of the Agri world below, Ethelgard Prime, the situation was dire. The Coronate Warband, led by the Chaos Lord Vrikor the Decapitator, had made planetfall, but so had the anomaly. In the ruins of the planetary capital, Squad Damocles of the Iron Snakes chapter moved with the fluid grace of predators. They were Space Marines, Astartes, the Emperor's Angels of Death. But they were Iron Snakes, and they did things differently. Brother Sergeant Priad held up a fist. The squad froze instantly. They did not crouch, they simply became statues in power armor. "Contact?" Brother Andromic asked over the Vox. "Something else," Priad replied. He pointed his combat spear, a weapon meant for slaying the great worms of Ithaca. Standing in the middle of the town square, surrounded by the butchered corpses of PDF troopers and Chaos cultists alike, stood a figure. It was humanoid, clad in a suit that looked like white liquid ceramic. No face, just a smooth visor. It held no weapon, yet the Chaos Space Marine attempting to charge it had been flattened. Literally flattened. The Traitor Marine, Terminator armor and all, had been compressed into 2 dimensions, a grotesque painting on the asphalt. "Xenos," Andromac growled. "Hold," Priad commanded. The Iron Snakes were scholars as well as warriors. Priad stepped forward, his blue armor gleaming in the twilight. "I am Priad of the Iron Snakes. You stand on Imperial soil." The figure turned. The voice that emerged came from everywhere at once. "You are the Snakes. You carry spears. Primitive. Yet, you saved this sector before. A single one of you." Priad narrowed his eyes behind his helmet. You know our history? I know your data. You scream it into the void. For the Emperor. For Ithaca. Noise. Always noise. Do you not know the forest is dark? Do you not know there are hunters who listen? We are the hunters, Priad stated flatly. The figure, Singer, tilted its head. No, you are children playing with firecrackers in a room full of sleeping tigers, and you just woke one up. The ground trembled. The sky above Ethelgard Prime darkened, but not from clouds. Millions of spores entered the upper atmosphere. Tyranids, Priad cursed. Hive Fleet Leviathan Splinter. Singer looked up. The hunger, the ultimate expression of the forest. They do not hide, they consume. They are the inevitable result of your noise. We must purge them. Priad readied his spear. Squad Damocles defensive phalanx. Futile, Singer stated. There are billions. You are 10. In my universe, we do not fight the avalanche. We remove the mountain. Then get out of our way, Priad growled. A drop pod slammed into the square, blasting concrete shrapnel against Priad's armor. The ramp hissed open, and out stepped not a space marine, but a figure draped in black leather and velvet, flanked by stormtroopers. Inquisitor Valeria of the Ordo Xenos. Secure that entity, she shrieked, pointing her power sword at Singer. It possesses archaeotech weaponry capable of dimensional compression. Priad sighed internally. Inquisitor, we have a Tyranid invasion. The Xenos is the priority. That weapon belongs to the Holy Ordos. Singer looked at the Inquisitor, then at the sky filled with descending biospores. This civilization is insane. You fight over scraps while the wolf is at the door. A massive Tyranid bio-titan, a Hierophant, crushed a building 3 blocks away. Its screech shattered windows. Observe, Singer said. This is how a civilized species handles a pest. Singer flicked a wrist. A small glowing card, no bigger than a playing card, shot toward the Hierophant. What is that? Valeria demanded. A grenade? No, Priad whispered, his enhanced eyes tracking the object. It looks like paper. The card hit the Bio-Titan. There was no explosion, there was no heat. The Bio-Titan simply began to fold. It collapsed in on itself, dimension by dimension. The 3D creature became a 2D image, then a 1D line, then a 0D point. It vanished. The air rushed in to fill the vacuum with a thunderclap. Heretical! Valeria breathed, her eyes wide with greed. Seize him! I want that technology! You want a dual vector foil? Singer asked, voice devoid of emotion. You are not ready. You would destroy your own son to win a skirmish. The Emperor protects! Valeria charged, her power sword crackling. Singer didn't move. He didn't have to, because the air froze. Green lightning arced across the square. The Inquisitor, the Iron Snakes, and the descending Tyranids all halted in time. Stasis! A metallic laughter, dry as ancient parchment, echoed through the square. Oh, bravo, a new voice drawled. A dual vector foil. Dimensional weaponry. How? Retro. I haven't seen one of those since the War in Heaven. From a dimensional pocket, a tall metallic skeletal figure emerged. He held a staff topped with a glowing resurrection orb, and his metal cape clinked as he walked. Trazyn, the Infinite. Necron! Priad hissed, fighting against the sluggishness of the stasis field. Overlord Trazyn, if you please, the Necron corrected, examining Singer with glowing green eyes. And you are fascinating. Not of this galaxy, not of this universe, perhaps. Your aesthetic is terribly minimalist. Dark forest theory? Singer turned to Trazyn. For the first time, the outsider seemed wary. You are old. You are cold. You are like the machines of the Trisolarans, but sentimental. I am a collector, Trazyn said, circling Singer. And you are a unique specimen. A representative of a civilization that survived by hiding? By weaponizing physics? Marvelous. You'll look excellent next to my Krork. I do not fit in boxes, Singer stated. Everyone fits in a box if you fold them correctly, Trazyn quipped. Speaking of which, may I have that foil? I have a display of the fall of Cadia that's missing a certain je ne sais quoi. The hunger approaches, Singer pointed to the sky. The Tyranids were adapting. The Hive Mind had seen the Bio-Titan vanish and realized the threat. Swarms of gargoyles and harpies were descending specifically on the square. Ah, the bugs, Trazyn waved a hand dismissively. They ruin everything. Terrible for preservation. Acid everywhere. They are the dominant strategy of this universe, Singer said. Expand, consume, destroy. They are loud. You are all loud. And you are rude, Trazyn replied. He tapped his staff. Canoptech wraiths, if you would. Dozens of Necron constructs phased into reality, intercepting the Tyranids. Gauss flayers stripped flesh from bone atom by atom. Now, Trazyn focused on Singer. Into the Tesseract labyrinth, you go. Singer raised a hand. I cannot be captured. Exposure is death. If I am taken, I will trigger the photoid. The what? Inquisitor Valeria managed to gasp, breaking the stasis lock through sheer force of will. I will accelerate this star to supernova. I will cleanse this system. Priad stepped forward, placing himself between the Necron and the outsider. No one is blowing up the sun today. Trazyn paused. Well, that would be inconvenient. My museum is on Solomance, but I haven't finished looting this planet. Suddenly the shadows stretched. The light from the burning city fires seemed to dim, not from smoke, but from a supernatural heavying of the dark. From the elongated shadow of a ruined statue, a figure peeled itself off the ground, skin like dark purple bruises, hair of white flame, runes carved into flesh. A mandrake, and then another, and another. Oh, wonderful, Trazyn sighed. The Gloomkin. Who invited the Dark Eldar? The mandrakes did not speak. They did not scream like the World Eaters or hiss like the Tyranids. They were silent. Singer watched them. These understand. The lead mandrake, Karadruak the Decapitator, stepped forward. He had 4 arms, 2 of which held blades made of frozen shadow. He looked at the Tyranids swarming down the street. The mandrakes didn't charge. They simply sank into the shadows and reappeared inside the Tyranid swarms. Blades flashed in the dark. Tyranid warriors fell, their heads severed before they knew they were under attack. They use the darkness, Singer observed. They do not broadcast. They strike from the silence. This is the only survival strategy I have seen here that makes sense. They are demons of Elindrak, Priad warned. They eat pain. Better to eat pain in silence than to scream for joy in the light, Singer replied. The battle for the square became a 4-way chaotic melee. The iron snakes formed a phalanx, spears disciplining the horde. Trazyn's Necrons flayed the skies, the mandrakes butchered from the shadows, and Inquisitor Valeria tried to shoot everyone who wasn't human. Singer stood in the center, a calm point in the storm. This universe, Singer said, his voice vibrating in Priad's helmet, it is a dark forest, but the trees are on fire, and the animals are all rabid. It is war, Priad grunted, spearing a Genestealer. There is only war. Why? Singer asked. Resources? Survival? Hate, Priad said. And duty. Illogical. A Tyranid Hive tyrant crashed through the Necron line, screeching a psychic challenge that popped the heads of 3 stormtroopers. It lunged for Singer. Singer didn't flinch. You are a lower form of life. You exist only to feed. Singer touched the Hive tyrant. The creature didn't fold this time. It shattered. The molecular bonds holding it together simply ceased to exist. It turned into a pile of carbon dust. Trazyn clapped. Marvelous, a molecular debonder. I'll trade you 2 regiments of catechans for it. Mint condition. Xenos filth! Valeria screamed, charging Trazyn. Trazyn froze her in stasis again with a bored flick of his wrist. She has no appreciation for history, Trazyn muttered. I must leave, Singer announced. This place, the noise, it is infecting me. I feel the urge to announce myself. That's the warp, Priad said. It gets in your head. The warp? Singer looked up at the tear in the sky where the World Eaters had come from. It is a dimension of pure thought, of pure emotion. It is the opposite of the dark forest. It is a realm where thoughts become predators. Accurate, Trazyn nodded, though the Chaos Gods are less predators and more cancerous tumors with personality disorders. I cannot stay, but I will leave you a gift, a lesson. Singer floated upward. The silver droplet ship descended from the clouds, passing through the Tyranid swarm, smashing bioships with its indestructible hull. You scream to keep the dark away, Singer's voice echoed over the entire planet. But the dark is not empty. The dark is full of things that listen. Silence is your only shield. Learn to be quiet. The droplet emitted a pulse. It wasn't destructive. It was a dampening field. Instantly, all Vox channels on the planet died. The psychic scream of the Hive Mind was cut off. The roar of the World Eater's chain axes was silenced. For 10 seconds, Ethogard Prime was perfectly, blissfully silent. The Tyranids, cut off from the Hive Mind, went feral, attacking each other. The World Eaters, denied the noise of war, faltered in confusion. In that silence, the Iron Snakes struck. They moved as one, a silent brotherhood of death. Without the roar of battle, they were faster, sharper. They cleared the square in minutes. Trazyn watched Singer's ship accelerate away, vanishing into a dimension that even the Necron's sensors couldn't track. A pity, Trazyn mused, looking at the empty spot in the sky. He would have been the centerpiece of the extragalactic Curiosity's wing. He looked at Priad. Well, Space Marine, it seems we survived. I'll be taking the Inquisitor. She's annoying, but she has a rosette, and those look good in a display case. You will take nothing. Priad leveled his spear. Trazyn chuckled. Brother Priad, was it? I have read your file. The party on Basal? Standing still for 2 hours? Socially inept, even for an Astartes. I like you. I shall leave you your life. Consider it a professional courtesy. Trazyn vanished in a flash of green light, taking the frozen Inquisitor Valeria with him. Priad stood alone in the square, surrounded by dead Tyranids and the silent mandrakes, who were fading back into the shadows, their bellies full of demon flesh.
The Vox crackled back to life. Brother Sergeant? Status?
Priad looked up at the stars. For a moment they looked different. They didn't look like worlds to conquer or defend. They looked like eyes, watching, waiting for a sound. Status clear, Priad whispered, keeping his voice low. Secure the silence.
Epilogue. The Golden Throne.
Deep within the Imperial Palace on Holy Terra, beyond the Eternity Gate, beyond the Custodian Guard, a presence sat upon a throne of gold and machinery. The Emperor of Mankind was a corpse, a lighthouse, a god. He screamed into the warp every second of every day, the Astronomican guiding the ships of humanity. It was the loudest sound in the galaxy. But for a microsecond, a message from a different universe filtered through the psychic roar. A message from a silver droplet. Silence is survival. The Emperor's fragmented consciousness processed the thought. He remembered his Webway project. He remembered trying to hide humanity from the Chaos Gods, trying to create a path where they could travel without being seen, without being heard by the predators of the warp. He had tried to turn humanity into a dark forest civilization. He had tried to make them silent. Magnus had broken it. Magnus had screamed, and the predators had come. A single psychic tear, unseen by the Custodes, rolled down the metaphysical cheek of the Master of Mankind. He knew the outsider was right, but it was too late. The galaxy was burning, the forest was ablaze, and the only option left was to scream louder than the monsters. The Emperor focused his will. The Astronomican flared brighter, burning 1,000,000 souls to fuel its light.
Let them come, the Emperor thought, his mind a fortress of pain and defiance. We will not hide in the dark. We will burn the forest down.
And in the darkness between the stars, the Tyranids saw the light, and they hungered.